So Monday's podcast, I talked about how I owe Case Keenum an apology because I believe that Case Keenum, with this Vikings roster, with this system, with this infrastructure, and combine that with what we've seen out of Kirk Cousins the first 4 games of the season, I believe that Case Keenum would look better than Kirk Cousins right now. Not to say that we should have re-signed Case Keenum, because I believe what we saw from Keenum and the Broncos last year and what we're currently seeing with him with the Washington Redskins now, I think it would have been very similar if he stuck with the Vikings last year under former offensive coordinator John DeFilippo. So I think it would have been a disaster still. But with that said, different circumstances now, I believe that Case Keenum would outperform Kirk Cousins by a mile. And it's funny because the pushback I got on Facebook and Twitter, oh my God, repulsive Randy, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know football. We're talking about Case Keenum that's been on 3 different teams the last 3 years. We're talking about Case Keenum that recently, last week, just got benched in favor of rookie quarterback Dwayne Haskins. We're talking about that Case Keenum. Yep, you're damn right. We are talking about that Case Keenum. And it's funny because I saw a stat yesterday, ESPN's QBR, quarterback rating system, whatever it is, through the first 4 weeks of the season, they apparently have Case Keenum as an 18th ranked quarterback, Kirk Cousins 32nd. And I don't care for advanced analytics, and I don't even think that Case Keenum has played higher than Kirk Cousins. I don't at all. But still, and I actually think that both quarterbacks have played pretty poorly for their respective teams. But still, I decided to post that stat anyway on Facebook and Twitter just to piss off all the lone remaining Kirk Cousins stands out there. I admire your effort. You guys have been holding on tough, defending this man's honor. It's really admirable. Now, before we get into this, let's make one thing clear. In terms of talent, Kirk Cousins is far and away more talented than Case Keenum. Kirk Cousins has all the physical tools necessary to make all the throws that you want to see out of a franchise quarterback. You compare that to Case Keenum, who's more of an average talented quarterback that does just enough to get by in the NFL as a journeyman quarterback. So there's no disputing that. However, we are talking about football. We are talking about the NFL. It's not a plug-and-play league like the NBA where you can take a super talented player like LeBron James and put him over in a dysfunctional franchise like the Washington Wizards. And make no mistake about it, if that were to happen, you bet your ass that the Washington Wizards come next summer, they would represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals just because of LeBron James's presence alone. It doesn't work like that in the NFL because on top of talent, you need coaching. You need good coaching. You need good scheme. You need cohesion. You need to have chemistry amongst your players, and that will really help dictate the level of success that you can have for that particular season. So you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're in a crappy system that doesn't use your talents to its full potential, then you are absolutely doomed from the start to where you can be an average player, but in the right system, you can look far and away better than what you actually are, and you can succeed. And if you don't, then that's on you because the system is there to help elevate you. And that brings me to Kirk Cousins, the far more talented quarterback on the 2019 Minnesota Vikings. And the system that he has, what he has to work with, he has the best running back in the league in Dalvin Cook. He has the best receiving duo in the league in Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. He also has an assistant head coach who's a former Super Bowl champion head coach in Gary Kubiak, who designed a scheme to limit his mistakes that he's prone to making to where the scheme is geared more towards the run game and the best running back in the league in Dalvin Cook, to where all Kirk Cousins is being asked to do is, hey, don't screw up, a.k.a. be a game manager. Bro, Kirk Cousins is getting paid $84 million to be a game manager. So when you look at the system, the weapons that he has to work with on offense, you compare that to the other 31 quarterbacks in the league, the other 31 starting quarterbacks in the league, to where essentially they have to play with a 10-foot basketball court. And Kirk Cousins, on the other hand, he's been blessed in this situation to play with a 4-foot basketball hoop made by Fisher-Price. And still, in spite all that, he has been dismal. He has been putrid. He has been awful. He has been utterly useless, he has all the physical tools necessary to make all the throws that you want to see. But mentally, he has been a ghost. You compare that to Case Keenum in 2017, where he also had Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. He didn't have Gary Kubiak, but he did have Pat Shurmur, who also is an offensive mastermind. He had no Dalvin Cook. He didn't have a healthy Dalvin Cook at all because he tore his ACL in the 4th game of the season. Dalvin Cook did against the Detroit Lions. So he had no Dalvin Cook to work with, and he was asked to do more than Kirk Cousins is being asked to do right now in 2019. So in 2017, Case Keenum, he averaged 32 pass attempts per game, to where right now Kirk Cousins, he averages less than 25 pass attempts per game. And that average quarterback with less talent, significantly less talent than Kirk Cousins, he was more efficient with the football. He was able to extend plays. He actually made his offensive line look better than what they were because of his ability to evade pressure and get outside the pocket to extend plays. He also threw passes to allow his receivers the opportunity to make plays on the football. You compare that to Kirk Cousins, who is throwing the ball to the sidelines. He's throwing the ball to the customized cleats of Stephon Diggs. He has been the second coming of Christian Ponder in 2019. Oh my God. Well, Case Keenum, he just had 1 year, and he's been on 3 teams in the last 3 years ever since, and he just got benched last week for rookie Dwayne Haskins. Okay, you're right. Again, a system league. Let's talk about that. Case Keenum went from Pat Shurmur in 2017 with the Vikings to Bill Musgrave in 2018 with the Denver Broncos. Bill Musgrave, who got fired after the end of last season. He also went from Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen to Emmanuel Sanders, who I like, but he's no Diggs or Thielen. And he also missed 4 games last year. Emmanuel Sanders missed 4 games last year. He also had Demaryius Thomas, who played 8 games with the Broncos before being traded to the Houston Texans. So Case Keenum went from having a good infrastructure, he went from having a good set of resources to really prop him up around him in Minnesota, to he was then asked to throw the Denver Broncos into victory as if he's a franchise quarterback. And that's just not his game. That's not who he is. Again, a system league. We talk about the Redskins right now, averages 34 attempts per game. Pass attempts per game. He has no Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed hasn't been available. The downgrade from Jordan Reed, or the drop-off from Jordan Reed to Vernon Davis, is absolutely huge. He also has Adrian Peterson instead of Darius Geis, who's dealing with an injury. The drop-off from Geis to Peterson is huge because Peterson is a limited running back. We all know that. He can't pass protect. He can't really catch out the backfield. So when you're playing him out there on offense, you're really handicapping your offense 10 on 11 to the opposing defense, and that puts more pressure on Case Keenum. And then also, I like Terry McLaurin a lot. I really, really do. But outside of him, Case Keenum really doesn't have that many legitimate threats to work with as far as throwing to his dynamic playmakers. Terry McLaurin is the only one. And lastly, their star left tackle, Trent Williams, would rather forfeit $11 million this season than ever play for the Washington Redskins ever again. You want to talk about a dysfunctional franchise? That is the Washington Redskins. So, of course, he's not going to succeed in those two circumstances. So that brings us back to the main point. Case Keenum, put him in Kirk Cousins' shoes right now with the 2019 Minnesota Vikings, with better receiving weapons, with a solid defense, and a system to where you're going to throw 10 times less per game than you're doing right now, 7 times less per game than you did 2 years ago with the Vikings, and be more of a game manager quarterback. And then when you do have to throw it to Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, and just don't screw up with Case Keenum, and combine that with what we've seen from Kirk Cousins these first 4 games of the season. Would Case Keenum look better than Kirk Cousins right now? You bet your ass that he would. And this, beyond all the X's and O's and how Case Keenum has looked better, the biggest difference to me is that Case Keenum has less talent than Kirk Cousins, but he plays with heart. He fights. He's looking to extend plays. He's looking to extend possessions and score points. You compare that to Kirk Cousins, who has far more talent than Case Keenum, but he plays with absolutely no heart. On 3rd and long, he's more willing, he's more happy to throw it to his running back on a check down pass and say, get me off the field. That's just too nerve-wracking for me. I can't handle it. So I don't care how much talent you have. If mentally you're not there, then it doesn't matter. And this is an indictment on Kirk Cousins. We can talk about Case Keenum and the lack of talent all we want to. This is an indictment on Kirk Cousins, because if we want to talk about actual on-field production this year, Case Keenum with the Redskins compared to Kirk Cousins right now with the 2019 Vikings, Case Keenum, who has to throw the ball 10 times more per game than Kirk Cousins, he has to throw to far less talent on the Washington Redskins than what Kirk Cousins has to work with. Case Keenum is 10th in the league in completion percentage in the NFL. You compare that to Kirk Cousins, who has to throw the ball 10 times less. He has the luxury of throwing the ball 10 times less. And when he does have to throw, he's throwing it to far more superior talent. He is 20th in the NFL in completion percentage. That is completely inexcusable. So, excuse me, you want to call me an idiot? Don't be mad at me for saying that Case Keenum will look better than Kirk Cousins. Don't be mad at me. How are you going to be mad at me because Kirk Cousins is playing like some butt ass right now? I don't care how much talent that you have to perform. I did stand up before. Had a great time doing it down in San Diego. Had a wonderful time. 95% of the time, I did a really good job. I liked the job that I did out there. Only one time, though, I think it was the second or third time that I did stand-up. Just one time, I absolutely bombed on stage. But I felt like I had talent. I practiced, I prepared, I did all that stuff. I got out there on stage when it came time for me to perform. I sucked ass out there. And do you think the audience crowd out there, do you think the manager of the comedy club, do you think that they cared that, oh, but I have all the talent and I prepared, I'm really good at preparation? Do you think that they cared when I went out there and absolutely sucked? No, they didn't. It doesn't matter. You need to perform. The excuses for Kirk Cousins is over. It needs to stop. And Case Keenum right now would play better than Kirk Cousins for the 2019 Minnesota Vikings. It's not even a debate. We do this 3 times a week. Minnesota or mediocre best, I was about to say Minnesota Vikings, mediocre best sports podcast with Realistic Randy. Check me out on Twitter at realistic_Randy. Check me out on Facebook at Realistic Randy. The next podcast will be tomorrow, covering previewing the upcoming Week 5 game, Vikings versus the New York Football Giants. We'll see you then.